Attachment is a deep emotional and physical bond that someone feels for another person. This bond normally first appears as our connection to our primary caregivers, like our mom or dad. When we are born, we form a deep attachment to the person who feeds us and cares for us. This connection is hardwired into our brain and exists as a way to ensure we are safe and cared for when we need it most. As we grow up, this attachment can present in many, if not all, of our relationships. Have you ever had a friend who shares that they love their new significant other after only dating a week? Or maybe you have that acquaintance who never lets anyone get to know them and breaks up with people if they try. Those behaviors are symptoms of the attachment they developed when they were an infant. Since this early connection to others seems to find its way into most of our relationships, of course this can be an issue in therapy. Although the therapeutic relationship is different from any other we have, that doesn't make it immune to our existing relationship struggles. In fact, because therapy can make us feel so trusting, safe, and comfortable, we may find that even if we can keep our emotional struggles under control in our regular life, they come out full force in therapy. Just like the two examples I briefly touched on, attachment in therapy can either feel like we never want our therapist to leave, or that we would prefer to leave them first to avoid personal upset. When we feel that we never want our therapist to go and fear it happening, we can act in ways we think will keep them around. For example, I hate to even put this out there publicly, but I used to tell my therapist that I was doing worse whenever I felt she was talking about stopping or lessening our sessions. I just needed to see her, and I didn't know how else to tell her. We can want them to stay around so badly that we may even hurt ourselves to get them to stay. That's why there is so much shame and embarrassment associated with attachment, and why we need to talk about it more. Wanting someone to stay doesn't make us wrong. It merely tells us that we didn't get our emotional needs met as a child. Once we understand where they come from, we can feel more validated and hopeful about making those upsetting urges stop. Where does my attachment urge come from? Research narrows the period our attachment develops to our first 4 or 5 years of life. During this time, we rely heavily on our primary caregiver, usually our mom or dad, for much of our care. When we cry, they come to our aid, and when we are hungry, they feed us. When we feel we can depend on them to meet our physical and emotional needs, we form a secure attachment and feel safe to go out into the world and connect with others. Having this secure attachment means it's not likely that we will worry about our therapist leaving or struggle with intimacy with others. If when we were young no one came when we cried, or our caregiver was not consistently there when we needed them, we might form an insecure attachment. Our parents not being there when we needed them sent the message that our needs were not essential, or possibly false. Many of my patients who grew up in these situations share how their mothers would tell them to be quiet and go back to their room, some even refusing to hold them when they asked. I know a lot of this sounds harsh, and you may be wondering how a mother or father could do this, but often it's because of other things going on. Perhaps another child in the family is suffering from a chronic or deadly illness. Or the family is going through a difficult financial situation, and both parents have to work full time. Whatever the reasons, when we don't know that a parent cares for us entirely, we may try to find someone who will. That's why attachment presents so strongly in therapy. What if I don't feel connected to my therapist? Often those of us who didn't have a loving and supportive environment growing up can struggle to let anyone near us. When a child's caretaker isn't around when the child cries for them, they sometimes stop crying or reaching out for help. In a way, they see their efforts as a waste and give up. Therefore, instead of the previous scenario where we want to be closer to our therapist and see them more often, many patients have a hard time connecting at all. Struggling to let people in can make therapy tricky, because if it doesn't feel safe to let someone close to us emotionally, our therapist won't have enough information.